One of the things that we're asked about from time to time at the chapel is, hey, why is it that we're doing circle groups? And what is their overall ethos? What's the intention behind which circle groups exist? And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes to try to explain that as best I can. The first thing that I would start with is the overall calling that we feel as a church at the chapel. If you've been here for any period of time, you would know that when we talk about the mission of God's people in this region, we believe that God is on a mission in this region. That in that region we call Missio Dei. We see it here regionally. We see it throughout the world. God is on a mission throughout the world. And in specific, we believe that that mission is to give every man, woman, and child in Western New York a repeated opportunity to hear, see, and respond to the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And in many respects, to boil that down to one word, we believe that that's saturation. The saturation of the gospel throughout this region. And we believe that that's the driving ethos for this church, that God is on a mission and we want to join God on that mission. And so it doesn't necessarily matter if it's circle groups or not. We actually believe that that ethos should be lived out throughout all of the lifeblood of the church that is called the chapel. And it doesn't matter which location you're at. If you're at Cross Point, if you're at Lockport, if you're at Cheektowaga, we believe that this is really imperative. And for circle groups in particular, I see the value of running ourselves through that. And so we want to make disciples that are living on that sort of a mission, joining God on mission to see every man, woman, and child have repeated opportunities to hear, see, and respond to the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And so as we create disciples, as we desire to do that, we believe that a disciple is someone that is daily following Christ and compelling others to do the same. And circle groups would be groups of disciples that are getting together to try to live and join God on His mission in this region. Now, how would we do that? What does that entail? Well, if you've gone through the discipleship resource at the chapel and you've taken time to go through it slowly and try to understand at a deeper level, what is that exactly? Basically, that's the guiding stone for us in circle groups, is that as we're creating discipleships in circle group community, there's a few things that are really important to us. The first bucket of what's really important to us in circle groups is everybody's spiritual formation. And so as it relates to circle groups as a whole, it should be a place where spiritual formation is being checked in upon and is being cultivated in the lives of people individually and hopefully systemically in the lives of people as a group as a whole. So what are those outcomes? Well, we see them in the discipleship resource, and I'll restate them here. Number one, we want to make sure that people that call the chapel home are in tune in their intimacy with God, that we can challenge each other and we can drive each other toward a deeper pursuit of intimacy with God. That's the first thing. And from that, we believe all these other outcomes flow. The second of which is Christ-like relationships. Circle groups should be a place where deeper community and deeper relationships happen. We can have times where we grieve with one another, times where we celebrate with one another, times where we are just enjoying the daily rhythm of life together, the community, deeper relationships, deeper Christ-like relationships. This is a place where circle groups can create that sort of an environment and can keep one another in touch with that very outcome. So intimacy with God is number one. Christ-like relationships is number two. The third is circle groups should be a place where people can help to discover and serve in the capacity of their gift mix. If we're following Jesus, God has given us spiritual gifts. And one of the things that we have known over the years is that not everybody knows what their spiritual gifts are. And so the circle groups are a place where people can begin to discover what their gifts are in that group as a whole, and they can begin to utilize those gifts for the glory of God and greater body partnership. Now, those gifts can't just be, it's not just that those gifts are discovered there and used there. Those gifts can be discovered there and even used in service. And so circle groups can also be a place where we launch into service opportunities in the region, engaging secular space for the glory of God. So that would be the third thing that circle groups provide an environment for. The fourth thing would be that circle groups are a place where we continue to develop and grow in our grace story with one another, and that we continually are aware of the opportunities that we have within the region to participate in sharing our grace story with other people in the region. So as it relates to circle groups and why we do them, we think about saturation of the gospel in the region. We want to cultivate disciples in our church, which are people that are daily following Christ and compelling other people to do the same. And we believe that circle groups is an environment where spiritual formation can happen. Intimacy with God, Christ-like relationships, knowing and discovering your spiritual gifts and using them for the glory of God, knowing and discovering your grace story and using it for the glory of God. Now, that's the first bucket of spiritual formation. The second bucket that I think circle groups can help people with in terms of joining God on His mission in this region would be in setting a missional edge in your life, individually, but then also in the group as a whole. Circle groups should not just be a place where it's believers only. It's our hope and our prayer that people that are in circle groups, if they are growing in their spiritual formation and their pursuit of intimacy with God, they're going to see that they want to see other people that are not yet believers in Christ. They want them to participate and to see the community of believers that you can see in circle groups. John 13:34 talks about Jesus saying the world is, he's talking to the disciples, the world is going to know you by your love for one another. And that's great. As believers, we get to experience that love, that Christ-like love with each other, but then the outside world can look in upon that and say, there's something different about you. And so as we participate in setting a missional edge, there are 4 things within that bucket that we live in the hope that if spiritual formation is happening, this will happen naturally. This missional behavior will happen naturally. And there's 4 things. Number 1, that people in circle groups, they're going to have identified people that they know of, that they're pretty sure don't know Jesus, and they're beginning to build an intentional relationship with. The second thing is, as they've identified those people, they are using circle groups and using their daily rhythms to pray for those people who are not yet in right standing relationship with God through Jesus. They're actively praying for them. And circle groups is a place where we can pray corporately for them, and then also a place where we can challenge each other to make sure that we are praying and even inviting these people into those environments of circle groups. The third thing within the missional behavior bucket is that not only are you identifying people and praying for people, you're engaging them meaningfully. You're engaging them meaningfully just in their space, in their territory, and you're also inviting them to come and be a part of what it is that you're doing. And hopefully circle groups could be a natural place and time to do that. So identify, pray, engage, that third one. And then the last one is we live in the hope that circle groups is a place where we can challenge each other, where as we're setting that missional edge of identify, pray, engage, we're also setting the missional edge of sharing the gospel repeatedly with people. And so overall, the ethos of circle groups is a part of what we're trying to do in the church as a whole. It doesn't really matter what ministry domain. The reality is this: we want to join God in His mission for this region. And we believe that saturation is that end goal of the gospel. And circle groups is a place where we can cultivate spiritual formation with one another, and we can hope to set a missional edge. Whatever curriculum you go through, whatever decisions you make to serve as a group, whatever decisions you make to grow in community with one another in your circle group, the reality is this: we want you to run those decisions through those 2 areas. How is it contributing to our spiritual formation? And number 2, how is it contributing to helping us set a missional edge? Now, I realize it's going to take a long time for some groups to be able to participate in this at that level. But it's our hope and it's our prayer that in time, all of the circle groups that are a part of the chapel, whether it's at Crosspoint, you attend the Crosspoint campus, you attend Lockport, or you attend Cheektowaga, the reality is we want to set that sort of an ethos in everything it is that we do to participate with God on His mission in the region. Community happens, and we believe that circle groups is a place where that community can happen. But we want that in community to be intentional. Like, absolutely, we want to share each other's burdens. We want to pray for one another. We want to exhort one another. We want to encourage and challenge one another in our faith. But we absolutely want to make sure that spiritual formation is happening in those groups, and we want to make sure that we're keeping each other accountable to missional behavior, engaging lostness, engaging the secular spaces of Western New York. If you'd like to learn more about that at a deeper level, well, I'd encourage you to check out discipleship.thechapel.com. We've taken a lot of time as a senior team to really process through that, and it's my hope and my prayer that as you slowly walk through the discipleship process, you will see how circle groups are an ultimate contributor to greater missional living and a deeper level of spiritual formation, and ultimately a deeper level of community with other believers and that those believers would be attractive to the outside world and would want to invite unbelievers into places like that. John 13:34, the world will know us by our love for one another. We get to experience that as believers, and hopefully the unbelievers see that and want to participate in that at a deeper level. God bless you, gang. I hope and pray that you're well, and I hope and pray that this update makes sense. God bless you.